Are funeral expenses deducted from the estate tax? Have you ever wondered if funeral expenses can lighten the load of estate taxes? This is a common question many people have when planning for the future. Let's break it down clearly. Funeral expenses are not deductible on your personal income tax return. If you pay for a loved one's funeral, you cannot claim those costs on your Form 1040. The Internal Revenue Service clearly states that these expenses are considered personal and are not deductible. However, things change when we look at the estate level. When someone passes away, their estate, which includes all their assets and liabilities, may be subject to federal estate tax if its value exceeds a certain amount. Currently, that threshold is over $12 million. Only estates that exceed this amount can benefit from the funeral expense deduction. If the estate pays for the funeral, those expenses can be deducted on the federal estate tax return, specifically on Form 706. This deduction can help reduce the total taxable value of the estate, which might lower the estate tax bill. The deduction is claimed on Schedule J of Form 706. Now, what qualifies as a deductible funeral expense? The Internal Revenue Service allows deductions for expenses that are reasonable and necessary. This includes costs for items like a casket or urn, burial plot expenses, cremation or embalming services, and fees for the funeral home. Additionally, transportation for the deceased and immediate family, as well as fees for ministers or religious leaders, can also be included. It's important to keep in mind that any reimbursements received for these costs, such as from Social Security or Veterans Affairs, must be subtracted from the total deduction. For most families, the estate tax exemption is high enough that they will not owe federal estate tax. Therefore, the funeral expense deduction may not apply. However, for larger estates, careful planning can involve setting aside funds to cover funeral costs. This ensures that the deduction is available if needed. Executors and estate administrators should maintain detailed records of all funeral-related payments made from estate assets. If family members pay for the funeral themselves, the estate cannot claim those expenses, even if they are reimbursed later. In elder law, attorneys often advise clients to think about how funeral expenses will be managed as part of their estate planning. For clients with substantial assets, structuring the estate to pay these costs directly can provide a tax benefit if the estate is taxable. For others, the focus is usually on making sure funds are available to cover funeral costs without burdening surviving family members. In cases involving Medicaid planning, paying for funeral expenses in advance through a prepaid funeral plan or an irrevocable funeral trust can protect assets from being counted for Medicaid eligibility. This also ensures that funeral wishes are honored. To sum it up, funeral expenses can be deducted only on the federal estate tax return, not on individual income tax returns. Only estates large enough to owe federal estate tax can use this deduction. The deduction applies only to expenses paid directly by the estate, not by individuals. Keeping proper documentation and planning ahead is essential for maximizing any available tax benefit.